Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Steven Melendez, and I'm going to be bringing you the latest and greatest in soccer news from around the world. Welcome back, everyone, to your favorite soccer podcast. We had one of the craziest weeks in soccer. I mean, we know this has been going on for a long time now, but for it to come to fruition, I know you guys know what I'm talking about, that Super League, the ESL. I mean, it just sounds bad coming out of my mouth because I don't want to get too into it because that's what we're going to be talking about in today's show. Not entirely, obviously. I mean, I don't want to give that league too much time. I mean, it just sounds bad. But I mean, it was a very, very emotional week for soccer fans, for anybody involved in soccer, and that's what I want to get into this week, in this episode. The first part of the show, we're going to get into that Super League, what it means, what clubs, what are the founding members of that Super League, and then I also want to get into that new UCL format. So I want to get into all that good stuff in the first part of the show, kick us off with a strong topic there. Second, I want to get into that Champions League semifinal preview. The best competition in the world. We want to talk about that. We got some of the best clubs going at it this week, and we're going to get into all that. Third part of the show, we're going to continue to talk about our domestic leagues that we love so much. I'm going to talk Premier League, Serie A, Bundesliga, La Liga, Liga, all those title races. Well, a couple are kind of already in the bag, but there are a couple of them heating up as we get into that final few games of the season. And we're going to get into all those in that third segment. And last, I'm going to continue with that top 10 players in each Premier League club. This time, I'm going to be talking about Everton, a team who started off really hot, looked like those new signings were really going to give them a boost into the top four, but then they started regressing and are, where they have been for the last couple years. So we're going to talk about the top 10 Everton players this season. But yeah, without further ado, let's just get started with the European Super League and that new UCL format. So, where do we begin? I mean, there's just so much to talk about when you talk about this new European Super League. It's this. If you guys don't know, I'm sure everybody here that's listening knows what is going on with this European Super League. It's a league that is being put together by some of the top clubs in the entire world. We're talking Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, AC Milan, Inter Milan, 6 Premier League clubs, and I believe Man City, Man United, Arsenal. I'm pretty sure Tottenham, Liverpool. I feel like I'm missing another one there. I'm pretty sure maybe even Everton. Chelsea. Chelsea's that other club I'm missing there. And it's just crazy to even think those clubs are trying to create their own league. Obviously, the first thing that comes to your mind about what is the point to all this, it's the money. Because obviously we know during this entire pandemic, a lot of clubs, not just the wealthy ones, I'm talking all clubs, are losing a lot of money. It's just the reality of it. And it's not just in soccer. We know all sports a lot of teams are losing money. No fans have been able to go to games for a very long time. Obviously now we're starting to get some fans trickling into the stadiums, limited capacity, whatever. But regardless, you're still losing a lot of money. And the TV revenue, yes, you get a lot of money from there. A lot of people are watching now because they can't be at the games. But it's nowhere near enough to make up for the losses. So I get it. A lot of clubs are losing money. But for these top clubs in the world of football to join together to try to make one super league in order to try to make up those losses just smells just dirty and greedy. That's all this really is. I understand. Like, when I'm thinking about it from a fan's perspective, sure, it sounds kind of cool when, you're going to get some of these top clubs that'll just be going up against each other every week, or very often. I mean, well, with the repercussions that would be coming to every single player on these clubs, everything that will happen to these clubs, which means, just to go off a few, no Champions League. Players would be banned from the World Cup, which I think right off the bat there, those two alone, I mean, just make me say no. Stop what you're doing. Stop trying to change the world of football as we know it into this dirty it's been like, we know the corruption going on in FIFA. We know, but don't add to it with this ridiculousness. I just don't want to see it. And the fact that it also guarantees those founding club members, to stay in that league for the first 20 years, it's just immune from relegation. Like, where's the competition in that then? There would be none. Like, I remember that because I remember a couple years ago that it was being talked about. I believe it was like 2018 that there was a talk about, something similar to this, another super league that was going to be created, that, these teams were going to break away from UEFA and create their own league. It had teams like, I remember PSG was in it. Let me see if I can find the teams that were in it, because I was reading this article that named those teams. It was Barcelona, Real Madrid, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, Juventus, AC Milan, PSG, and Bayern Munich. Those 11 teams would be the founding members of that league. And they were going to be immune from relegation from that league for 20 years. 20 years. You won't have to worry about being kicked out of there, nothing. But then, I'm just trying to figure out what would happen if you do. Because even there's talks that they wouldn't be part of their domestic leagues anymore either. So I'm just trying to figure out what would be the beneficiary from this. I understand the revenue you get from all those TV deals, because obviously it's a lot of good football pretty much every single time a team goes up against each other. Because if you're talking about every week, we're going to see, Real Madrid versus AC Milan, and then PSG versus Barcelona, Man City versus, Bayern Munich, Man United versus, I don't know, Juve. I understand. That's big for TV. That's a lot of great teams going up against each other. You'd have some of the best players in the world going up against each other all the time. I get it. But to not have any of those other competitions, involved with these teams, it would just take so much away from football than you would get. It's literally only giving to those few teams, and really not even to the players, because I get it, the players would get good competition, but I mean, if the whole thing with banning them from the World Cup is legit, why would any of these players want to go there? Why would any of these top players, like why would Mbappe want to go to any of these top teams if it means he can't play for France anymore for the rest of his career, and can't try to win any more World Cups? It just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. And the more I try thinking about it, the more, it all just comes back to money. It just always comes back to money, and all these freaking owners, and managers trying to, not managers, but, the owners just trying to get more money into their clubs. And I also read this report that said if the Super League does not happen, these signings for guys like Haaland and Mbappe can't happen. it would be impossible because, the money that they would need to put together to be able to bring those players in would just be astronomical, and there's just absolutely no point to bringing them in. So maybe that's an angle they're going at, but it takes me back to my same point. Why would they want to go there if it means being banned from all these competitions that they've known and loved for almost their entire years, for their entire lives? It doesn't... I just don't get it. And of course, now you're seeing all these teams like Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, I think were also there. Barcelona, it felt like I saw there was an article that said they were kind of backing out too, but now there's reports that they're still sort of in there. Like the only clubs that are there still are Juve, Real Madrid, and I think it said Barcelona as well, though I had seen reports that said the Barcelona were also withdrawing. All those other teams, Inter, AC Milan, what was it? Like I said, Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, all those other teams backed out, withdraw, because of course, like as if you didn't think it would happen, all these fans who have dedicated their lives to, their hearts and souls to these teams are upset beyond belief, because of course now that means, everything that they know and love, all this history that they've been a part of will mean absolutely nothing, because they won't be a part, those top Premier League clubs won't be part of the Premier League. Barcelona, Real Madrid won't be part of La Liga. It's sickening. You're destroying the fabric of football by creating this Super League. And all just for money. It's so greedy on so many levels. I just cannot. I can't wrap my mind around it. Like, I knew how greedy this sport was. All these owners, all the different things that they've done over the years. To just bring in more money, however they possibly could. And I remember hearing about the Super League when I was, starting to get into football, or, I was kind of already into football, but then when I found out about this Super League, I was like, what is this? Like, why is this happening? Or why is this possibly happening? And of course, I'm a PSG fan, so I was thinking like, oh, what does this mean for us? Like, are we now going to be taking on these teams all the time? Is this now going to kind of like take over the Champions League? Which obviously that's their... that's what they're looking for. They're looking to just take over the Champions League, which I just don't understand why. Because in my opinion, the beauty of the Champions League is the unpredictability of it. Most of the time, and not the unpredictability of the top teams winning it, because most of the time, at least over the past couple years, you've had some of the top teams win the Champions League. Real Madrid in that three-peat that they had, Bayern Munich last year, Liverpool, those were some of the top teams of those years. So obviously the top teams still win, but it's the upsets, the Atalantas, the RB Leipzigs that make it to, whether it's the quarterfinals, the semifinals. That's the beauty of the Champions League, because it gives all these teams to go, a chance to go up against the best in the world. And to prove to people that, yes, we are here to stay. We are really good teams. And this Super League would just take it away, because let's say, because I remember seeing it was 12 founding members this time around. I don't remember the full list. I gave you a good number of teams there, but, it was 12 teams. And I believe it's like a 16-team league or something like that. And then those 4 left over would be, cycled in and out with, like, I guess some other playoff format that would decide how they would leave, or, which ones would leave, which ones would stay. And then I guess some other way you would find out how a team comes in. And I don't know. And I guess that is Champions League-esque, but it's like, when I also heard that they would be separated from their domestic leagues as well, I'm just wondering, like, is this the only football you have? Like, I get, it's hard to get tired of great football all the time, but it's just like, eventually, if this is all we have, that's going to get, not boring, I don't want to say boring, it's just going to be tiring to watch. Like, it's like the same 12 teams going at each other every single night. Like it's fun to watch an Aston Villa beat a Liverpool 7-2. It's super shocking. It's news. It's huge. You won't really get that in the Super League. It's like, oh, okay, Arsenal defeated Man City. That's pretty big. I mean, but it is Arsenal, like they could have a good day. They could beat a Man City every now and then. Or PSG beat Bayern. It really wouldn't be that big. Barcelona beat PSG. Whatever. It wouldn't have as big of an impact as it does when, a lower, table side defeats a high table side. It wouldn't have that same feeling. And everything about it just makes me cringe and just makes me feel like it's not right for football. So if you guys obviously haven't, gotten it up until this point, I am 110% against this. There should be 100% sanctions, a bunch of sanctions for all these teams that have just decided to break away from their competitions and try to create their own league just for money, because that's really all this is about. It's all about the money. So there should be even if it doesn't happen, there should be sanctions. Now, I do not think it should be sanctions like they're no longer in European competitions for like 2 years, because that would suck. I would not want to see, no Man City, Man United, Barcelona. I want to see those teams in the UEFA. But financial sanctions, I'm trying to think of what else there could be. Maybe, I really don't know, man. The only other thing I could think is a UEFA competition ban, which would just suck. Maybe for a year, I don't know. But it's just it's such a bad situation. It just sucks that it's come to light, and it's not going away. Real Madrid president recently just said that these teams can't leave. They have a binding contract with the Super League that they can't just break away from. They can't just leave. Which just makes me feel like, oh my God, this was like going to, like, it might still happen. Or even it's going to happen. Who knows? I just really I really hope it doesn't. I hope this all just goes away at some point. I really want this pandemic to end. I want things to go back to normal, guys. It's killing me. But even with everything going back to normal, I mean, geez, 2018, nothing there. I mean, not a pandemic. There was no pandemic going on, and that was still already talked about. So, oh, man, it just really makes me feel sick, and I really don't want it to happen. So that's me. I'm done. I'm done talking about the Super League. If you guys want me to talk about it more, just let me know in the comment section. Please don't, though. Please don't let me know you want to talk about it more, because I really don't want to. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Super League. And now I quickly want to talk to you guys about that new UCL format, which I actually am very excited about. But then when I really started thinking about it, it made me think like, man, these players have it rough. Like, there's only 365 days in a year. Like, that is not a lot of time to play all of the, and of course they're going to have an off season. And I've always said football has some of the shortest off seasons I've ever seen. These players will get like 2 months off and go right back into a full, 10 months of just nonstop football. Every single weekend, international breaks. It's exhausting for these players. And when I think about this new UCL format, it gets me excited. If for some of you that might not know, this new format is set to begin in 2024-2025 season. So we still got a few years before this gets integrated into the Champions League. But it's an exciting thing to talk about. Like, still as a fan, like, I love the thoughts of this new format. Like, they really put some thought into this. I'm first going to go into what it means for the group stage and then what it means for the knockout stages. So the 32 group stage that we all know, it's gone. There's not going to be that anymore once this new format comes in. Instead, there's now going to be one single table like you see in every other domestic league, and the field is going to be extended from 32 clubs to 36. There's now going to be 4 extra clubs that come in. Now, I did hear that those 4 extra spots are going to go to, one would be, I believe they're going to add a third place qualification for the Champions League in the French club, or it would be the 5th highest ranked league in Europe, which at the moment is France. So a third club at this year would be AS Monaco, would be going into the Champions League for next season. And then the other ones are like the top rated clubs. I don't know I forgot what it said. Let me see if I can find that again. Let me see. So here it goes. It said the second slot will go to a domestic champion after expanding the champion's path from 4 clubs to 5. So that is what's going to happen there. Yeah, from 4 clubs to 5. Okay, and then the third and fourth slots will go to 2 clubs with the highest club coefficients that have not qualified automatically for the UCL's league stage, but have qualified either for the qualifying stage or Europa League, Europa Conference League. So for those teams that, this year it would be a qualifying stage for the Champions League, it's now an automatic bid into the Champions League. So those are where those extra 4 spots are going to go. But then what they're going to be put into is one single table of all 36 teams. That sounds massive. That sounds insane. And on top of that, instead of just 6 games being played, how we see it now with each team taking on the other three clubs in their group stage twice, it's going to be 10 games, all different clubs, and it's going to be half home, half away games, which I think is exciting. I mean, obviously, I'll have to see how those schedules will put together, and I'm sure they're not, they're going to try to make it as even as possible. Those top teams won't, a bottom team will only be taking on, those really, really high quality teams. I'm assuming it's going to be spread out, and that's the way they're going to have that. But 10 games, all different opponents, it's exciting. It's stuff that'll get you going for the Champions League. There's going to be a lot more games, so I understand that also adds more revenue, and that's one of the reasons why they're doing this. But again, you got to also look at it. That's 4 extra games that these guys got to play. That's a lot. And that's also a lot of traveling because, who knows who they're going to be going up against. And I'm sure they might factor that in, like trying not to have the travel be too much for some of these clubs. But still, it is a lot more games, and that makes it a lot tougher for these players. Like, this season has been very tough on a lot of Premier League clubs. And I want to say all clubs, but I've seen specifically for the Premier League, man, I've seen games being played like 3 games in 1 week. Like, I've seen that. Like, that's insane. Like, there was a time when, there'd be like 2 games in a week, but 1 game a week was like the norm. Like you might get a second game in that week because of Champions League or, a cup competition. But then, obviously then they'll go back to that 1 match a week for a few weeks. But this week, forget about it. The norm is like 2 matches a week, which is just crazy. And then sometimes there might be 3 because you might have a Champions League game coming up. So you got to change up your form, your lineups. You can't have these guys playing, 2 games in like 3 days. That's insane. It takes so much out of you to play 90 minutes and to have, only get 2 days rest, play another straight 90 minutes. None of these other sports have that. Like, there's consistent time to have a break in between a game. Like basketball, timeouts. Yeah, soccer players don't know what a timeout is. That's not a thing. It's so different from any other sport that it's just insane to continue to pile on games. So, you see them on 2 sides of this. Like, as a fan that loves to watch, high quality football, obviously this new format sounds very exciting. But then also I have to think about it in that other way, think about it from a player's perspective. And I've seen some things being said about that some players have said. I had a quote here somewhere that said something like that this was like a lesser of the 2 evils when comparing it to the Super League. So I get it because it's just so much more games that you have to play. But, like when you really think about it, it's 4 extra games. I mean, like it is a lot. It is a lot. But it's like, man, like it might be worth it, man. It really would. And, now that I'm done talking about like that group stage, because that's how the group stage would be. 10 different opponents, 10 games being played, and then wherever you end up in that 36-team table. Now, how do you get to that knockout stage? Well, the top 8 teams in that table automatically get promoted to the last 16. But the teams 9 through 24 play a playoff round. And that also gets me excited, and that adds to the amount of games these teams have to play. Because think about it. Let's say you go 9 through 24. That means you got to play 2 extra because now they go on a 2-legged tie to find out who are those last remaining 8 teams to go to the last 16. That's a lot. That's a lot of games. That's what now for those teams it would be 6 extra games to add to that, huge campaign that they're already playing. Cup competition, domestic league. It's a lot, man. It is a lot. International football mixed in there. It just seems too much. So, but just to tell you how the format would go. So yeah, the 9 through 24 ranked teams would go into a playoff round. Clubs 9 through 16 will be seeded. 17 through 24 won't be. And it's going to be drawn into a 2-legged affair. So, that 9 through 6, the 17 through 24 teams will be drawn into a game against whoever is seeded from 9 to 16. And then the team that loses that playoff round automatically gets demoted to the Europa League. Now, the clubs, obviously 25 to 36, are, booted out of the European competition altogether. And then from that point on, everything we know about the knockout rounds is going to stay the same. It's going to be a 2-legged tie, and you're going to have, obviously it's that elimination right after. There's nothing else that's being added extra into the knockout round. So that stays the same, but everything else changes. And it's exciting the way that they're changing it, but obviously adding those extra games is going to add a lot of strain to those players. It's going to add a lot of, more difficult decisions for these managers to make as they try to, manage these players and not have them get worn out by the end of the season. So, there's a lot of pros. There's certainly a lot of cons. Let me know what you guys think about this new UCL format and of course, this European Super League, because that's going to wrap it up for this segment. But make sure you guys stick around, because when I come back, I'm going to be talking about the Champions League semi-final right after this.
Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? The GSMC College Football Podcast is your ticket to all things college football. Join us as we talk college football from the national championship, the college rivalries, the bowl game, to the Heisman Trophy. To which conference is the best? We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, the Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between. Download the GSMC College Football Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. If you missed the last segment, we went over the European Super League and, of course, the new UCL format. I talked about everything that I had to, say about that European Super League. And, of course, I explained everything about that new UCL format and what I thought about it. If you guys wanted to go check that out, please go ahead and do so. But now we're going to be talking about the Champions League semifinal. We have some amazing ties headed our way, and I just cannot wait to get into them right now. We got Real Madrid versus Chelsea, and we got PSG versus Manchester City. Now, obviously, you think about those two ties. Obviously, one seems so much better than the other, but you cannot deny that Real Madrid and Chelsea is also a very good tie. If you're talking about just under Thomas Tuchel, Chelsea have been one of the best teams in all of Europe. It is not that's not just me trying to talk them up. That's facts. They have been one of the best defensive teams. Offensively, I know they are still a mess. They can't really get it together in that final third, but defensively they have been a monster. And in terms of wins, I mean, they went on like a 12 or 13 game what is it? What's the word I'm thinking about? Where they didn't lose in like 13 games, whatever. I can't think of the word of that. I know it's not winless, obviously, but whatever. Where they've won or drawn in like 13 straight games. They were on a heck of a roll. Obviously, they kind of faltered just a bit but they're still playing extremely well. I mean, they're in the semifinal of the Champions League for sake. But it's incredible what they're doing. Obviously, Real Madrid, we know about the quality they have, the prestige, the history. It's an historic club, and what they've been able to do, get their way here. Obviously, defeating Liverpool, another former champion. Obviously, a team that's been kind of struggling this season. Not kind of struggling a heck of a lot, but. It was still a very good run for Real Madrid to get here because they went through them. They went through Atalanta, a team that's also been playing pretty well in Serie A, to get to this spot. And obviously, you're going to probably go with Real Madrid to get through here. But do not underestimate Chelsea. Chelsea can give it to Real Madrid. Real Madrid are also not incredibly fluid offensively either. I mean, they have been a lot better this year than they were last year. But defensively, they're not there like they were last year. They do still have the pieces. Obviously, Casemiro is still one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. You obviously got a very good pairing of Sergio Ramos and Varane. But you cannot deny that it has not been the same feel defensively from Real Madrid that it was last year. It just isn't. And I don't think that that's really going to make Chelsea look like world beaters on the attack. By no means do I believe that. But I do believe that that's going to make this tie a heck of a lot closer than a lot of people probably think. Chelsea, I mean, you look at what they've done throughout this Champions League run. They've taken on Sevilla in the group stage. They went 4 wins, 2 draws in their group stage. They won both games against Atletico Madrid, and then they won the first leg against Porto, and then they lost the second leg against Porto. But that second game never really felt like they were going to really lose it. They always felt in control. So I always had faith in Chelsea in that tie, against Porto. But now they go up against some real competition here in Real Madrid. And it's certainly going to be tough. But they got some great players up and down their roster. I mean, in my opinion, I want to start it off with Edouard Mendy, who has been such a huge addition to this team. I mean, in Europe, in the Champions League so far, in 9 starts, he's got 24 saves on 26 shots on target. That's a 92% save percentage, 7 clean sheets in 9 starts. That's absolutely incredible. And then you look at the other players. Jorginho has been great in the Champions League. Timo Werner actually seems to get his juices flowing when it really comes to Champions League football. He leads this team in both goals. Well, no, not over Olivier Giroud, but he's second in goals and he's first in assists. So he's been giving them production in the Champions League. Kai Havertz got 2 assists, though the way that he's been being played with Thomas Tuchel there, he might not see a lot of time in these 2 legs. But still, you got a lot of veteran leadership on here as well, with Thiago Silva being there. You got guys like Mason Mount been playing incredible this season. Ben Chilwell on that left side is going to provide a lot of stability at that left back position. Obviously, Cesar Azpilicueta is obviously going to be a huge piece of this team. And I feel like those are going to be the 2 most important pieces. Thiago Silva and Cesar Azpilicueta. If those guys can be at the top of their game, play sound defensively, and obviously provide a little bit of pressure in the box on those set pieces, then I feel like Chelsea certainly have a chance to move on to the final, which is absolutely crazy to think that, when you saw the way they were playing under, what was his name? Wow, why am I forgetting his name? Lampard. The way they were playing under Lampard, obviously they were very inconsistent defensively and obviously in the attack. But now under Tuchel, they seem much more organized. They look like a team that's ready to do the impossible and really make it all the way to the final after such an uneven season. Domestically and even, Champions League, they've always been very solid, at least this season. But still, you would not have put your money on Chelsea to make it to the final. And I know even now you're not expecting them to make it to the final, but you need to keep your mind open here, because it's facts that they have been playing sound defensively, and a lot of that has to do with the combination of Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva. Obviously, N'Golo Kante has been huge, even though he's been a lot of those games have been off the bench because he's kind of getting work back from injury, but he's doing a lot better now. Mateo Kovacic, Jorginho, all playing incredibly well on the defensive end, and then of course you got Mendy between the sticks, who has been one of the most consistent goalkeepers in the Champions League this season. Those are all facts. Now, of course, you need to score goals to move on in the Champions League. And of course, they're going to be relying heavily on Timo Werner, Mason Mount. Ben Chilwell is going to be a big part of that. Reece James is going to be a big part of that. And then, a combination of guys like Ziyech, Hudson-Odoi, maybe Pulisic gets in there a bit. Maybe they've been saving up Giroud to get him, into these very important games. Because when you put him in there, you got stability at that number 9 spot. And that's kind of been the issue for him because it doesn't really feel like Tuchel has Tammy Abraham in his, in his plans. So he hasn't really been getting a lot of time. And that's really the guy that I would have chosen to be their number 9. But obviously that's not the case now. And obviously Timo Werner you would expect as a number 9, but it feels like he's more comfortable kind of coming off the wings, playing off that right foot. But obviously Timo Werner needs to be at the top of his game over these 2 legs. He needs to be the guy that uses his pace to get behind that back line of Sergio Ramos and Varane and create stuff for other players, because he could certainly pass the ball. It's just, can he get a good foot on the ball? Like, that's always the thing with him. And then when you go to Real Madrid, obviously, you got a number of players that are, incredible. You got Karim Benzema, who's obviously the heart of that attack. You got Vinicius Jr., who has been getting it going of late. Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, and Casemiro, that the heart of that midfield that really gets everything going. Of course, when you talk about Real Madrid, that is the most important part, that midfield. Can they control the game? Can they control the tempo of the game and really get it flowing in Real Madrid's favor? If they can, they always have a chance to win. Now, of course, Chelsea also have a very good midfield with Jorginho, Kovacic. Depending on who they put in that middle spot, maybe, you'd have N'Golo Kante there for some more defense, but, it's going to be a battle of the midfield. Whoever can control the tempo here between the 2 legs will end up coming out on top in this 2-leg semifinal. And obviously, they also have a very good goalkeeper between the sticks, but in UCL competitions, he has not been at the top of his game. In 29 shots on targets, he's only saved 9. That's a 62% save. That's a 62.1 save percentage. 4 clean sheets in 10 starts. He could obviously do a lot better, but they've taken on some really good attacks. They beat Inter Milan twice here. Obviously, it didn't go that well against Shakhtar, but they also had a draw and a win against Mönchengladbach, won both games against Atalanta, won a 3-1 over Liverpool, and then drew against them in the last game that they played. So now against Chelsea, this is probably one of the easiest attacks they'll be taking on, or one of the weakest attacks they'll be taking on, pretty much among this entire competition. Because I can even say Borussia Mönchengladbach have a much better attacking style and fluidity, in them than Chelsea have throughout this entire season. And that's really going to be the thing. If Chelsea can get it going in the attack, which I really don't think they can, but obviously defensively, I'm expecting them to be at the top of their game and hold Real Madrid to, I don't see this going into a lot of scoring. Absolutely not. I see this no more than 3 goals scored between, in both legs from one of these teams. I don't see any more than that. I might even see less. I could easily see this going aggregate 2-1 in favor of Real Madrid, because I just don't think Chelsea will be able to score enough. Obviously, I'll be back with you guys next week after the first leg. We'll talk about, what we saw there and what's going to happen in that second leg. But for right now, I'm siding with Real Madrid because I think they're way more balanced. Chelsea this season, at least under Tuchel, have been much better defensively, but they still have a lot of questions to answer in that attack. And And maybe they can answer them here, but I just don't see it happening on this biggest stage with them relying on a lot of young players. Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, it's Christian Pulisic even. It's going to be a tall task for them, but they could be up for the challenge. So now, with that out of the way, let's talk about the major tie of the entire semifinal. PSG versus Manchester City. I mean, who isn't excited to see these two teams go at it over 2 games? I mean, if you're not, I don't know what's going on with you. Like, you got to get your eyes checked. These are two of the best. These are the the best 2 teams left in this competition. Like, I'm so excited. I'm getting my words mixed up here. Manchester City have been by far the best team in the world this season. In my opinion, even better than Bayern Munich. Like, Bayern Munich had a lot of problems defensively, which you saw in that first leg against PSG in the quarterfinals. It came back to bite them. Man City have been as consistently incredible as you can expect from Manchester City on the defensive end. In their, 33 games so far this season, they've allowed 24 goals in the Premier League. Absolutely incredible. They've been just as good in the Champions League. I mean, you look at what Ederson has had to do. In 9 games, he has had 16 shots on target at him. 16 in 9 games. That's ridiculous. 6 clean sheets in 9 starts. They've been doing it on both fronts. They've won every single game except for one against Porto in the group stage. They won 4-0 on aggregate against Borussia Mönchengladbach, 4-2 on aggregate against Borussia Dortmund. So they're just beating on those German teams. And now they go against a Paris Saint-Germain team that have, 2 of the most exciting players to watch, Neymar and Mbappe. And can they do it again? Can they hold these? They've literally only been scored on 3 times in this entire competition. 3 times. That boggles my mind how good this team is defensively. And of course, it all starts with Ruben Diaz, the best signing of the entire season. Ruben Diaz, and then of course, putting John Stones next to them. That pairing has been as good as advertised. Of course, you got to look at De Bruyne as well. The way he's just able to get everything going. Of course, he leads this team in assists in the Champions League. He's also got 2 goals to go with that. The guy is a magician with the ball. And he can make any pass at any moment. So PSG is always going to have to be on their toes when he has the ball. But then on top of that, you got so many guys that can score the ball. Sergio Aguero, even though he's been, primarily off the bench, hasn't really had a lot of time to play this season, he's got 2 goals. Gabriel Jesus, same thing, not getting a lot of time playing because, of course, Phil Foden's kind of taken that role as one of their main scorers this season. But Gabriel Jesus also got 2 goals. Ferran Torres has 4 goals, although I'm not expecting him to play much over these 2 legs. But then you got İlkay Gundogan and Phil Foden both scoring 3 goals each. You always got the electric Raheem Sterling to worry about. Bernardo Silva, Riyad Mahrez, so many different guys that can get it going on the attack. That it's you can never be too sure with any player. Like, any one of them can score a goal during these 2 games. And, of course, you're always going to have De Bruyne setting them up. And setting them up perfectly at that. So, of course, Ederson has been incredible as well this season. 16 shots on target. He hasn't had to do much. But he does have 12 saves, an 81.3 save percentage. And 6 clean sheets in 9 games. Obviously you got to credit, that back line and what they've been able to do, just keeping guys, keeping teams, at bay almost every single game, especially in this competition. But of course, they're not going to be that good if you don't have a really good goalkeeper between the sticks. And Ederson has certainly stepped it up a notch this season and has been that sweeper keeper we know and love and is as good as, advertised over the past few seasons. Now, of course, the emergence of Phil Foden has taken this Man City team to a whole nother level this year. And of course, the ridiculous resurgence of İlkay Gundogan as one of the greatest scorers of all time. The way he's playing, it feels that way. The man's always in the right position at the right time, always makes the right decision, and he is one of their best scorers. That is an absolute fact up until this point. And, Phil Foden and Mbappe are going to have some incredible duels over these first 2 games. And the same thing's going to be said about De Bruyne and Neymar. Those are the 2 players right there. But of course, I'm always going to expect Mbappe to outperform Phil Foden. I mean, there's no doubt about that, because you look at that other side, Mbappe has been on another level throughout this European competition. 8 goals, 3 assists, both lead the team. The only one is that his 3 assists are tied with Angel Di Maria in assists. And then you also got Neymar, 6 goals, 2 assists. That is where this team thrives. When those 2 guys are at the top of their game and playing at the top of, is playing the best that they can. If either one of them wasn't playing, this would be a whole nother conversation. Of course, I know there was this, the scary injury with Mbappe in their most recent game against, I forgot who it was. I forgot who it was. I don't even want to think about it too much. But there was a scare, but they said it was not too serious. There was no talk about him not being able to play against Manchester City. Thank God, because that has always been an issue for PSG. Every time they have a big game coming up, they cannot stay healthy. Hopefully that is the same thing. That is not the same thing going on here. Mbappe is able to play, because if those 2 guys are there, they have a chance to win. Because those guys are going to be the 2 best players on the floor. Probably 2 of the 3, because, of course, De Bruyne's there now, and that guy's an absolute monster. But I have no doubt in my mind that Mbappe is going to be the best player on the floor. No doubt. Because he has just been on another level domestically, in Champions League. It doesn't matter. The kid can't stop scoring. And it's crazy. He's only 22 years old. And he's got 8 goals and 3 assists. 2 of those are PKs. But, I mean, who cares? He could score in any way he needs to. His pace is ridiculous. And if he can find a way to unlock that Man City defense, PSG can go through. And the thing is, Man City has not had to take on players with the skill level of a Mbappe or a Neymar. Either one of those. Because those guys are so unique in what they do that it's not easy to replicate, in training, whatever the case. Like, those guys are going to have to, deal with those players. And if Ruben Dias and John Stones, and of course that back line of Man City and that overall defense, because of course, they're going to be relying on who is it? Who is it that's there that plays? What is it? No, Gundogan plays more up. Man, who is it that plays back for them? Who's in that midfield? Oh, Rodri. That's right, Rodri. And I believe they also have, Bernardo Silva plays in there a bit as well, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, probably going to be Bernardo Silva. Rodri is probably going to be the main center defensive midfielder to really, try to hold them back. If those guys can, at least limit Mbappe and Neymar, Man City have a huge chance of moving on. And this could be a high-scoring tie. Like, you can easily see the aggregate score being 5-4, 6-5, something like that, because there can be a lot of scoring here. But at the same time, there could not, because when I'm looking at that PSG side, they have one of the best goalkeepers between the sticks for them. Keylor Navas has been on another level. He by far has the most shots on target at him among these 4 goalkeepers that I've talked about, with 54. And he's got an 85.2 save percentage. Obviously only 2 clean sheets in those 10 matches he's played, but still, I mean, he has been on another level. And you have to say that PSG has had one of the hardest paths to this final than anybody in this competition. Manchester United and RB Leipzig in the group stage, Barcelona in the round of 16, Bayern Munich in the semifinal. I understand with no Lewandowski, I get it. But you cannot tell me that Bayern Munich were not still, slightly favored against PSG even without Lewandowski. You cannot tell me that, because that's all I was seeing everywhere. But now you got Manchester City, the other best team, and this is what I want. You know what? I remember saying, "Oh, don't give me Bayern," and we got Bayern. I was like, "Oh, I cannot believe it," But whatever. You know what? That's how you win Champions League. You take on the best of the best, and that's what I want. And I'm so glad we're getting Manchester City. We're getting all of the best, because if we beat them, we move on to the final. We take on whether it's Real Madrid or Chelsea. I'm hoping it's Real Madrid, because then another big club that we have to beat for the ultimate competition. And this would be such a sweet, sweet victory. Like, I'm going to be yelling at the top of my lungs if it happens. Of course, we got to get by Manchester City. I'm not thinking ahead. I'm glad that we're getting such a tough path, because nobody can then tell us that last year was a fluke. Because the fact that we are here again at the semifinal after not making it here for so many years just proves my point, and proves that what PSG is doing is just building history at this club. I love it, and I'm excited. I cannot wait. I might call out of work. I might be like, man, I'm not feeling well. I got to go at 3 o'clock. I got to go, and I'm going to go watch this game, honestly, because it's just, how can I miss this? I don't even know. I hope you guys watch. I hope you guys enjoy these Champions League games, but that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Make sure you guys stick around, because when I come back, I'm going to be talking about the top 5 domestic leagues right after this.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. If you missed the last segment, we talked about the Champions League semifinal. I went over both ties and talked about, which ones I thought were going to come out on top. Of course, we're going to have more to talk about after this week in my next episode. But if you guys want to go check out that preview, please go ahead and do so. But now we're going to be getting into domestic league football, talking about the top 5 leagues. And we're going to start off with the Premier League, of course, as things are starting to wind down in each of the seasons, or each of the campaigns, I should say. And yeah, let's just get into the games. I mean, one of the best games I thought we had this week was Chelsea versus West Ham. I was excited to see that one, see if West Ham could answer the call and really, come out on top against one of the, best teams, at least in terms of form, over the past couple weeks. And they were not able to. Chelsea came out on top with a goal from Timo Werner on top of that. And really, Chelsea's defense did most of the work, held West Ham to only 9 shots, 2 on target, had more possession, but not really that crazy of an advantage. And really, this was a game that Chelsea were winning from start to finish. Kind of a red card at the end of the game for West Ham kind of put the cherry on top for what really went down in this game. And it was just kind of just Chelsea from the start. And of course, that Timo Werner goal right before the end of the half really sealed that game for Chelsea, and they were able to hold on for a 1-0 win over West Ham, which puts a lot of pressure on West Ham to really hold on to that final 5th spot in the standings. We also had a game between Liverpool and Newcastle, and of course you would expect Liverpool, who now have nothing else to play for except a top 5 finish, to come out and look as strong as possible. And they did, for the most part. They came out looking really good against Newcastle, got a 3rd-minute goal from Mohamed Salah, so you're thinking this team has their eyes set. They're ready for some more Champions League football next season. Here we go. That's the only goal they scored all game. And on top of that, they allowed Newcastle to score a late equalizer by Joe Willock, the loanee from Arsenal, in the 95th minute. They allowed Joe Willock to score in the 95th minute. Newcastle had only 7 shots, 22 shots to Liverpool, only 4 on target for Newcastle, and they were still able to come out with a point. Only 31% possession for them as well. Everything, and I mean everything, was in Liverpool's favor, and they still were not able to get a win at Anfield. Absolutely incredible. I mean, big time performance for Newcastle. But man, Liverpool missed out another chance to move back into a Champions League place, conceding that 95th minute equalizer. Everything felt like it was moving in the Liverpool favor from that early goal, looking better throughout that first half. That second half was a little shaky, but then obviously in the end, it came out to a win, to a draw for Liverpool. And it's so hard to see. Because, I mean, you want Liverpool in Champions League football, but the way they're playing, and of course, you got to contribute to that Virgil van Dijk not being there, but it's just like, man, you can't win the game. They're only 1 point behind West Ham, and West Ham have lost their last 2 games and still hold on to that 5th place because Liverpool did not take advantage of either of their last 2 games, getting a draw in both. It's just such a poor, opportunity. Or grab at the opportunity from Liverpool. I can't even believe it. And then, of course, we had a game between Everton and Arsenal. That's always exciting, but it wasn't really that big. Burton Leno ends up getting an own goal in the 76th minute for Everton to take the lead, and that was the only goal in the entire game. Both offenses were absolutely atrocious. There were a total of 4 shots on target in this game. This was the game you probably wanted to miss. I mean, if you were an Arsenal or Everton fan, I mean, of course you're happier if you're Everton. You get the 3 points. And you get a little bit closer to maybe clinching a European spot. But, man, Arsenal, it always seems to be the same thing with them. Their inconsistencies throughout the season. They had that nice stretch where they looked, like the Arsenal team we were expecting from the start of the season. But then they come right back to going 2 losses and 2 draws in their last 5 games. And that is really the Arsenal team that we have come to know this year. So, very poor performance. And then Wolves 4-0 loss to Burnley. I mean, Chris Wood picks up a hat-trick in the first half. So, this game was over from the start. And, I mean, the Wolves just continued to look like an absolute mess on the offensive end. They clearly miss... was it Raul Jimenez? I mean, it is not even close. There is nobody that has been missed more than Raul Jimenez for the Wolves, because that man is obviously everything to them offensively, because they have been an absolute mess, and that drops them to 12th place after winning 2 games in a row. Only 32 goals scored this season in 33 games from the Wolves. That, oh my God, that seems crazy to me. But Sheffield United get a win, which isn't really much because of course they're going to be relegated this season. But I mean, Newcastle, that was a big win for them, and it kind of feels like they're already out of that realm of getting relegated. It looks like it's going to be Fulham, West Brom, and Sheffield United. I'm not sure if it's statistically done, but it feels like those are going to be the 3 teams that are relegated. And then Manchester United miss out on a chance to get a little bit closer to Man City and make it at least a little interesting with a goalless draw against Leeds United. I mean, everything was going their way in this game. They had more shots on target. They had slightly better possession, pass accuracy, everything. They were doing so much better. They had 6 corners to Leeds United's 2. They just couldn't get that goal, that winner, to get them the 3 points. And they failed to inch any closer to the leaders, who now have a 10-point lead with only 4 games to go. Yeah, this is over. Man City are the champions. It's not statistically done, but there is absolutely no way Man City are failing that hard and, they're ending this. It's over. So that's going to wrap it up for the Premier League. Let's move on to Serie A, where Inter Milan win once again against Verona. They just continue to grow that lead in the top of the table, and for them, this also is a done deal. AC Milan still have to take on Lazio tomorrow. Maybe that game will be done by the time you guys hear me, but Atalanta absolutely destroy Bologna. 5-0. Juventus failed to get a win over Fiorentina, and they now move down to 4th. Atalanta move into 2nd place. I mean, that is a heck of a storyline. Atalanta, from losing Papu Gomez this season, kind of felt like the wheels were going to come off, and they go on to have one of their best seasons in Serie A, possibly finishing in 2nd place. And Juventus, they are in trouble of possibly moving out of a Champions League spot. Absolutely incredible. I mean, Napoli still need to play tomorrow as well. They still have a game in hand, and they could be tied with both Milan and Juve by the end of this weekend. Absolutely incredible. I mean, obviously we have to see what happens with Milan and Lazio, but it's possible. And this season's just so crazy to me. I mean, Roma just continue to fall back. After being in 3rd place all season long, they're now in 7th, behind Lazio by 3, behind Napoli by 8 points. I mean, ridiculous the way their season has gone south. They're not going to be in European competition next season. It's going to be a combination. It's probably going to be these 5 teams, but it's which ones are going to end up in the Champions League spots. Like, we know Inter Milan are winning the Serie A title. Like, congratulations to them. An 11-point lead, maybe a 10-point lead over Milan if Milan win against Lazio. But just absolutely incredible season from Inter Milan. They've just demolished Serie A since getting out of European competition, and they have secured themselves the Serie A title. Just congratulations to Inter Milan and all their fans. Let's move on to the Bundesliga, where things are also a little bit. It kind of feels like it's over there, but things did take a crazy turn this week, where we had. Let me see if I can get to it. For some reason, this is so far away. But man, Bayern lost to Mainz this week. They gave up an early goal to Jonathan Burkhardt in the 3rd minute, gave up another goal to Robin Quaison in the 37th minute to be down 2-0 at half to a team that has been playing very well of late. I mean, 4 wins in their last 5 games, so you have to give Mainz a lot of credit. They have gotten themselves out of that relegation zone with these wins and are now pretty much securing themselves Bundesliga football for next season. But man, what a poor performance from Bayern, who had Lewandowski finally back into the lineup. They had Müller, they had Sane, Coman, Goretzka, Kimmich. They had all their top players and were not able to come out with a win against this lower table side. But you got to give them their credit when their credit's due. Mainz had a very solid game, and they came out on top. Even though they had less shots, the possession was obviously not going to be in their favor, but they took advantage of the opportunities when they had them, and they defeated Bayern, giving up a goal late to Robert Lewandowski, but at that point it was all said and done, and Mainz get 3 points over the league leaders. We look at Union Berlin defeating Werder Bremen. Joel, I don't know if I want to go with that. We're trying to say that name, but Joel Pojampalo, maybe I said that right, maybe I didn't, but we'll know. Scored a hat trick in the second half to give Union Berlin a big win over Werder Bremen, giving them that 3-1 win over them. That puts Union Berlin, they're in 8th place now. They're not going to really reach a European spot, but still, they're obviously going to be in the Bundesliga next year, and I'm always excited to see Union Berlin there after hearing about the history of their club. SC Freiburg gets a draw against Hoffenheim. Let's see, Leverkusen defeats Eintracht Frankfurt. Frankfurt have been on a little bit of a down spiral, 2 losses in their last 3 games. Same thing for Wolfsburg, 3 losses in their last 4 games, and they just finished losing to Dortmund. Obviously, they got a brace from Erling Haaland. Who else? But man, Wolfsburg just could not find the target in this game. They had 21 shots. Only 2 of them were on target. Like, I didn't even see the highlights of this game. What in the world happened here? 21 shots, only 2 on target? Oh my God. That is horrible. But Borussia Dortmund, man, take advantage of their opportunities and, of course, take advantage of the fact that they have an incredible talent in Erling Haaland, and he scores their 2 goals, gives them a very important 3 points here, as they are knocking on the door of Eintracht Frankfurt with 4 straight wins. They're only 1 point behind them, man. After losing that game to Frankfurt, it kind of felt like there was no chance for them to get into Champions League football. But they are fighting for it, and there is a chance. Though I would, even though, yes, Borussia Dortmund are one of the best German clubs. They've always been one of the best German clubs. But, man, I would love the fresh Frankfurt and Wolfsburg in there. I don't know, just because, guys. Just because. I would love to see that. I mean, low-key for Wolfsburg, I'd love to see John Brooks get that Champions League football experience. I'd love to see that happen. But, man, they got to step it up. There's only, 3 games left on the year? About 3 matches left, but they got to step it up. Borussia Dortmund are right on their tails, and even with Bayern Munich losing, now we're talking title. Now, even with Bayern Munich losing and RB Leipzig defeating Stuttgart 2-0, it still does not matter for the league title. Bayern still have a 7-point lead on RB Leipzig because they've lost 2 games in their last 5 and even have a draw mixed in there. So they've dropped a lot of points over their last 5 games, and it's really put them out of reach of that title. I'm giving it to Bayern Munich already. Like, there's absolutely no way Bayern are going to fall apart that hard. This title is all Bayern Munich's. They have officially won the Bundesliga title, so congratulations to Bayern Munich and their fans. And now we're going to move on to La Liga, where things are certainly heating up at the top 4 now. It's getting so exciting. I mean, Sevilla have gone on a crazy run. They've won their last 5 games. Is it more than that? What have they won? They won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've won 6, 7 of their last 8 games, with that other game being a draw. They have been on a heck of a run, and that's with wins against Real Sociedad, Real Betis, Atletico Madrid, Granada. Man, they have been on a run, and they also have to they still have games against Athletic Club. They got Real Madrid coming up, Villarreal. They still got some tough games coming up, but man, Sevilla have been on a run and have put themselves in contention for the title. It's crazy. They're only 3 points behind Atletico Madrid for the title lead. Even Barcelona have a chance to get to the to win this. What is it? They have a game on Thursday against Granada. If they win that game, they're technically above Atletico Madrid with 74 points. Absolutely incredible. And Atletico Madrid have really let this slip away, man. 2 losses in their last 5 games. Their grip on that title slowly but surely over the past couple weeks has been loosening, and they are now in a battle with all of the top clubs in La Liga. And it's so exciting that even Sevilla has been getting there, because I called it. I called it early on in this season. Or not early on. I called it when they got Papu Gomez that was really going to transform this team. And I'm not going to tell you that I know everything about what's going on with Sevilla. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't think it's only Papu Gomez that's really leading this team. Obviously, I see Ivan Rakitic in this last game against Granada. Ivan Rakitic and Lucas Campos got the goals. Against Levante, Youssef En-Nesyri, who's been huge for Sevilla this season, got the goals. Fernando, and again, Youssef En-Nesyri get a goal against Real Sociedad. In that game against Atletico Madrid, Marcos Acuna. So you got a lot of different players coming through for Sevilla in these games. And in that 4-3 win against Celta Vigo, a huge win for them. After they were down 3-2 at the half, pick up Ivan Rakitic and Papu Gomez pick up goals in the second half to give Sevilla a huge win there. And man, you've got such an exciting finish to this La Liga season. How many games we got left here? What we got? Wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Let me go to matches. What we got? We got 5 games left? 4 games left? Oh my God, this is going to get down to the wire, and you got some big games left, man. Real Barcelona takes on Valencia. We got Atletico versus Barcelona left. Oh my God, this is going to... And, oh my God, match day 35 is the one you guys want to watch. Barcelona versus Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid versus Sevilla. That's got me. Oh my God. Oh, I'm so watching those games. Oh, heck yeah. That's going to be title talk all match long. who is going to come out on top in those two games? Who's going to be left standing in the league title race? Oh, La Liga's heating up. And as soon as in the beginning of the season, me talking about La Liga is no longer getting exciting. It's only at, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid trickled in there a little bit. You got a 4-team race for the league title. Man, and now we move on to Liga, who also has a 4-league. Well, now it's really a 3-league team race for the title because Lyon has kind of faltered a little bit over the last 5 games. 2 losses and a draw. That's kind of taking them out of this competition. Of course, anything can happen in 2 games because we have about 3 games left. There's 4 games, right? There's 4 games left actually, and what is it? Lyon have a 6-point deficit from Lille at the top spot, so the odds of them catching them, it's very short because, Lille have been playing so well. You got PSG only a point behind them. You got Monaco only 2 points behind Lille. Things are getting so tight in Liga, and I absolutely love it. I can't get enough of it because I've always wanted these seasons to be tight. Obviously, I always wanted PSG to come out on top, but every single season, it feels like PSG have a 20-point lead on the second-place team, and it's over by January. I hate that. Because it also adds to the whole thing about PSG not really having to wake up for any of those late-season games and then have to just be at the best that they can be at during the Champions League. Now they're always on their toes. They're always playing at their best, and that's only going to do wonders for them in the Champions League. I love this competition. I hope it's there again next season, though I absolutely doubt it because, of course, what always happens with these teams like Lille, Monaco, these guys that are playing great on their teams, I think Yilmaz might still be on their team next season, but guys like Jonathan David, Jonathan David, who's the other one? Jonathan Bamba. I feel like they won't be here next season. I don't know. I just always have that feeling with these teams. Even Ikong, it never feels like these teams can hold on to their top players. I'm hoping they do. I'm hoping they do, but it's hard to really think they will because it just always seems to be the same thing for Liga. Big clubs want the top players on these teams. They get sold for money, and it's just back to Lille being borderline top 5, borderline top 4. But again, I am hoping 100% against it because I love it when Liga is competitive. It is so exciting that this is coming down to the wire. Even with PSG not being guaranteed victory, I am absolutely loving this. I want PSG to win the title. Obviously, I want us to have a possible treble. Come on. But it's going to come down to the wire. All the games are going to matter. Of course, that huge game between PSG and Lille was as important as ever, and Lille came out on top, and that usually tells you who's going to win. But still, I have faith in PSG to continue to win these last 4 games, and Lille just get a draw, man. Because if they get a draw, we win because we have a heck of a lead in goal differential. So I'm just so excited to see this play out, and yeah, man, it's going to come down to the wire. So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Make sure you guys stick around because when I come back, I'm going to be talking about the top 10 Everton players this season right after this.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. If you missed the last segment, we talked about the top 5 domestic leagues. La Liga and Ligue 1 are heating up and getting tight down the wire. So if you guys want to check out that, please go ahead and do so. But now we're going to be talking about the top 10 Everton players this season. Everton have had a heck of an up and down season. They started off as well as you could hope with, 7 straight wins to start the season. 4 technically in the Premier League, but then they also had a draw against Liverpool and then started the up and downs. The way they lost 4 of their next 5. They then went to win 3 of their next 4, and it was just like that, like up and down all year. They couldn't find any consistency, and that's where they are right now. In the outside of the top 5 looking in, they still have a chance at a European spot, but a lot of these losses to teams like Burnley, Fulham, Newcastle United, it started to really hurt them. And then even draws of late to Crystal Palace and Brighton. It's been like that all season for Everton. A lot of those new signings didn't really hit the way they were hoping to. Yes, I did like the signing of Doucouré, James Rodriguez, and even Allan, but Allan didn't really pan out the way they were hoping for. James Rodriguez missed a bit of time over the season, and even so did Doucouré, but I feel like Doucouré is actually the best one of the 3, so maybe a little bit of a spoiler alert there, but we're going to be talking about the top 10 players that have contributed to this season for Everton, and we're going to start at number 10 with Yerry Mina. Last season was pretty much an up and down year for Yerry Mina, with probably more downs than ups. But this season it's been a little bit of both again, but I would say it's about even. And that's why Yerry Mina comes in at number 10. 3 goals this season in 27 matches played. He does have the best passing completion on the entire team with a 90.6 pass completion percentage. Of about 42 passes a game. He gives it to you on the defensive end as well with 1.2 blocks, 4.4 clearances a game, even 2.3 aerial duels as well. He's a very tall guy, very well built, so he's going to help you out in those set pieces, which is why he gave you those 3 goals. He gives it to you on the defensive end. He just does a lot of things on both ends. It just wasn't enough throughout the entire season for me to put him up any higher. The guy ahead of him was also kind of inconsistent, but not like he was last year, which is why I put him ahead of Yerry Mina. I feel like he was more important to the club overall. And Yerry Mina did have a good season. I just didn't see enough from him overall throughout the entire campaign to put him any higher than 10. But at number 9, we have Jordan Pickford. And normally, I would have put Jordan Pickford, I have not put a goalkeeper in any of the teams I've talked about, I think lower than 5, but that's the kind of season Jordan Pickford's having. He's got about a 70.6 save percentage, 7 clean sheets in 27 matches played. He's not a sweeper keeper. He's a guy who's going to be a shot stopper. He's an athletic goalie. Usually his positioning is pretty well, but his decision making has been so poor over the past 2 seasons, and this season it's a little bit better. But the whole thought of him being the number 1 goalkeeper for England and it being a threat, a threat to his number 1 spot there is all real because he's been super inconsistent. Over the past couple games, he has been a bit better since coming back from that injury, but just it's not that same feel that we had in those early parts of Jordan Pickford's career with Everton. It just isn't. Maybe, he is looking a little bit better this season because last season he wouldn't even have been in my top 10. That's just facts. But he has done a bit better this year, keeping guys organized. I still don't like him because of that whole Virgil van Dijk, incident that he had earlier on in the year where he just dove into his legs. Terrible, terrible decision from Jordan Pickford, and it pretty much ruined the chances for Liverpool this season to have a title-winning season. I'm not going to say that that's the only reason they're not title winners, but still, it's definitely a big part. And that's why Jordan Pickford comes in at number 9. Just too many inconsistencies and not a lot of good football from him. But he's still vital to the team and vital to their defense throughout the whole season. Next, we have at number 8, this might be a bit of a surprise for a lot of people, but I got James Rodriguez. And a lot of this has to do with availability. He was out for a lot of games, And it really did not allow him to get into a rhythm with his team. 25 matches played. He still had 6 goals and 8 assists, which just shows you the type of talent that James Rodriguez is. I mean, if he's out there consistently for the whole season, no doubt in my mind he gets 10 goals and 10 plus assists. No doubt. He's that kind of player. He also had a 79.2 pass completion percentage of about 42 passes a game. He had the highest key passes per game with 1.6 on the team, and he had 1.1 dribbles. So that's what he brings to this team, that creativeness in the attack, the ability to get players involved, and of course to score himself. I mean, he can do it from pretty much anywhere. He's got that ability, but it's the fact that he just wasn't available enough. He was injured far too often, and he just wasn't able to get integrated with the team enough. I just feel like James Rodriguez can be so much better here. I hope he stays with Everton for another season. I know there were some rumors that he might be trying to go back to Real Madrid, but he needs to stay at Everton and help them grow something here to try to get into a European competition. I know it's tough. He's used to always playing in the Champions League, and obviously now with Everton, he might not be able to do that next season. But he should stay, and he could easily be a top 5 player for him next season if he just stays consistently healthy. But besides that, he has been a very solid addition to this team, gives them what they need in that attack to really create alongside Richarlison and Dominique Calvert-Lewin. But, it was just that availability that couldn't let me put him any higher than this. At number 7, we have the new addition to this team, Godfrey the Defender. He has been so good this season. 1 assist in 30 matches played, but he's got an 83.7 pass completion percentage on 35 passes a game. But he does a little bit of everything in that defense. 1 tackle, 1 per game, 2.4 blocks a game, 1.6 interceptions, 3.3 clearances, and he's a big-time presence in those set pieces with 1.8 aerial duels won a game. Godfrey is one of those young defenders that looks to be a big-time part of this Everton future. He's going to continue to develop there, and he's going to be a big-time part. I'm very excited to see the development of Godfrey. He played very well this season. He did everything he needed to do on that defensive end. Obviously, you're going to want to see his offense and his ability in those set pieces grow a little bit more to be a regular starter on this team, even though he did have 28 starts. But I know that they want to put him alongside Michael Keane on that back line. He just needs to do a little bit better in those set pieces and be a little bit more, I would say, consistent in those defensive situations, but he's still a heck of a talent at just 23 years old. He's going to be the future there at Everton and their back line. And that's why he comes in at number 7. At number 6, we have Gylfi Sigurdsson. 38 matches played. He was the most consistent player on this team, always showing up. He had 8 goals and 9 assists, whether it was in the cup matches, Premier League, not Champions League. Did they even make it to the Europa League? No, they didn't. Well, regardless, whether it was cup matches, Premier League, he was there and he was always producing for them. His ability to get players involved, score, also get back in defense and contribute in stopping those counters. He was there for them, and he's been there for a few years now. He just always seems to be super underrated, the Iceland midfielder. 79.1 pass completion percentage of about 21 passes a game, almost 1 key pass a game, 0.7 tackles won, 1.2 blocks, 0.9 interceptions. He does a little bit of everything, and I always love those type of players that get involved on both sides of the ball. He is a true holding midfielder. He likes to get more involved in the attack, and he certainly has the ability to do it on both ends. I just love his ability to get his players involved. He leads the team in assists. And he also was, third in goals scored. So he did a little bit of everything for Everton this season. And that's why he comes in at number 6. But he just didn't have the true impact that some of the other guys ahead of him had on this team. At number 5, we have I don't know about the name, Abdoulaye Doucouré. Maybe I got that way wrong, but Doucouré was definitely the best signing for Everton this season. Just his ability to be able to control the tempo of the midfield and also be a big-time anchor in that defense. He had 3 goals and 3 assists this season, so he also contributed in the attack. And his 85.8 pass completion percentage was the best of any player not named not at the defensive position. So, I mean, he was able to just control that midfield for Everton. And also his 1.4 tackles are one of the best on the team. 1.1 aerial duels as well. He's a big body and he always gets involved in those set pieces. So he's always a factor on both sides of the field. And again, I've said this with Sigurdsson. I absolutely love that. And Doucouré was always one of my favorite players. I remember he was at Watford, and I had my eye on him. I actually wanted him to join PSG because I loved his combination of defense and the ability to contribute to the attack as well. And I thought he would have been a great addition for PSG, and he would have. But Everton were able to get him, and he's been one of their best players this season, and that's why he comes in at number 5 for me. And number 4, we have the very, very what am I trying to say here? Skillful Richarlison. 34 matches played. He had 12 goals and 3 assists. He's really what am I trying to say here? The creative, flashy player that Everton have. They don't really have anyone else that does what Richarlison does with his pace, his ability to get, beat players off the dribble. 1.5 dribbles per game is the best on this team by far. James Rodriguez is that other player, but he does it in a more methodical way. Richarlison just goes right at you, has no regard for human life, really. And the 12 goals also is the second best on the team, so he's able to get goals at a very high clip. But the one thing that really surprised me about Richarlison is his ability to also play defense. Almost a tackle per game, a block a game, a clearance a game, and he's really good in those aerial duels as well. 1.1 aerial duels per game. He pretty much did it on both ends throughout this entire season, and he was able to produce consistently for Everton. And he was there also for 34 games of the 36 or 38 that they played. So I really feel like Richarlison had a very solid season for Everton and was one of their most consistent players, and that's why he comes in at number 4. At number 3, we have Michael Keane. Always a mainstay for Everton, and I believe he's the captain for them as well. He is the anchor for that defense, and his ability to be a factor in set pieces has always been huge for them, especially early on in the season. He was on an absolute tear. In 36 matches played, he had 4 goals and 2 assists. He also had an 89.2 pass completion percentage for about 45 passes per game, which shows you he also got that ability with the ball at his feet. 1.7 blocks, 1.2 interceptions, 4.6 clearances, and 2.8 aerial duels won per game. Just shows you that he's an absolute warrior in that back line, has no regard for his own body, always gets in the, it's just always putting his body on the line for his club, and that's what a captain does. And that's what Michael Keane does every single night. He is, I would say like Mr. Everton for this club, and he shows up every night. He shows up every single game and does his job at such a high level. And that's the reason why Everton's defense was as good as it was this season. What they had, even though they did allow 40 goals in about 32 matches so far this season. That's not terrible. That's around mid tier of this season. But really, he's not the reason that they allowed that many goals. He has been very, very solid, and that's why he comes in at number 3, just as such a consistent piece for that team. At number 2, we had probably the most all-around player on this team, and who's been the most all-around player on this team for a while now, but I feel like he really took a step up defensively this season, Lucas Digne. And honestly, I love the story of Lucas Digne, coming from PSG, where he wasn't really thought of much. I mean, he did get a couple appearances, starts for them, but he wasn't really considered, a main long-term stay. Goes to Barcelona, starts for them, and actually plays pretty well, but I guess he wasn't consistent enough for them to keep him there. And then he moves to Everton. And he has been one of the best fullbacks in the Premier League for a few seasons now, and I just absolutely love his development. He's turned into one of the best crossers in the entire world. His 6 assists is second on the team. No, it's third on the team. My apologies, behind Sigurdsson and James Rodriguez. But man, he does absolutely everything for this team. 30 matches played, 6 assists, a 72.4 pass completion percentage for about 46 passes a game, which I believe that is the highest on the team. 1 key pass per game, 1.4 tackles, 1.8 blocks, 2.4 clearances, and 2.6 aerial duels won per game. He just does absolutely everything, gets players involved, can get into the attack and really, play well off of his teammates. And then, of course, when he gets back on the other end, he is a hard-nosed defender, just does it all, and I absolutely love what I saw from Lucas Digne this season and is a huge reason for Everton's success this year. And that's why he comes in at number 2 for me. And at number 1, we got Dominique Calvert-Lewin. I mean, was it going to be anyone else? He has finally put himself into that conversation as one of the best strikers in the Premier League with his 19 goals this season. He does have 1 assist as well in 33 matches played and a 57.1 shot on target percentage. I mean, more often than not, this guy is going to get his shot on goal and will score on you. You cannot give him an inch of space because he can do it in so many different ways as well. And he is such a tall player as well. 3.3 aerial duels won per game. He is a threat in those set pieces. He can just do it however he needs to. And he's the main reason that Everton has stayed in most of these games. His ability to just score goals at such a high clip. And the fact he's still so young. How old is he? He's only 24 years old. Just turned 24. And the kid is just getting started. I do not be surprised if you see multiple 20 goal campaigns in his future, starting with next season, or maybe even this season. I mean, we still got 4 games left. I would not be surprised if DCL scores a couple more goals before the season ends and gives Everton a big-time chance at making it for one of those European spots. He will certainly be one of the main reasons because he has been doing it all season long, and he is an absolute beast in the box. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this show. I hope you guys enjoyed. But as always, thank you for listening to the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I would really appreciate it. Thank you and have a great night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.